When I think of where my dog Molly might be if she hadn't been rescued and then adopted by us, I cringe. I know she had been living outside on the street, since so many of her behaviors, even after 10 years, reflect a level of survival that is palpable. She has a blood-curdling scream when anyone even slightly touches her backside when she is unprepared. True trauma, and behavior that is startling for a stranger or even a friend who comes over. And despite her peeing basically wherever she wants, although mostly on the designated pee pads by the door, which I'm very proud to have trained her to do so, she is still a love even when I have exhausted all of my patience. She jumps into bed at night, and I know she knows she's safe, and that truly warms my heart. Many of us have similar stories of dogs who have been rescued. My neighborhood is filled with rescues, and I sometimes wonder who has rescued whom, the dog or the owner, because at times I truly feel rescued by both of my dogs. And Molly really went to my other dog, Max, first before she went to any of us. She felt safe with him. The other day, I was walking my dogs early in the morning, and a beautiful German Shepherd was chained to a fence at a ball field near my house. I had just noticed her, as did another early morning dog walker who had already called animal control, not rescue, which I was horrified to learn later. When suddenly, as animal control arrived, another young neighbor swooped in and offered to take the dog in, as she and her boyfriend have another German Shepherd. But their dog is male and this one is female. So what could be more perfect? After vet visits, flea management, and weight gain, the rescue and her new best friend, the other German Shepherd, were ready for prime time. I cannot begin to tell you how it warms my heart every single time I take Max, the true companion to Molly, and Molly for a walk, and we run into Rocco and Maisie, the two German Shepherds, wrestling in the park. I could cry thinking about it. Maisie, like Molly, attached to her new male friend, and it has been an incredible blessing. When I see them frolicking together and I talk to the boyfriend and girlfriend who take them in, by the way, in a very small apartment, I just tell them what a blessing they both are. And I have seen Maisie, they changed her name and she's getting used to it, go from a skinny, malnourished, chained up animal to this incredible, beautiful German Shepherd. And I share these stories because not everyone is a dog person, although I honestly think everyone should be. No judgment, just a comment on character. I'm kidding, sort of. Those who rescue, foster, and adopt are true heroes because so many of these dogs have had a trauma history, and without a good home, they are left to not fulfill their potential, which is simply to be loved by an owner. Welcome to Small and Gutsy, our podcast featuring nonprofits and social enterprises under $10 million. My name is Dr. Scherck Wittcoff, and I'm excited and proud to be your host. We hope you'll love the stories as much as we do, and perhaps you will find needed services, a job, volunteer, invest in, or donate. Small and Gutsy is not just a podcast, but a 501c3 nonprofit. Our vision is to spotlight every smaller nonprofit and social enterprise to raise their visibility. So please help me with our vision and send me any organization you'd like featured to laura@smallandgutsy.org. Our featured nonprofit today holds a special place in my heart because of what they do. Their tagline is Donate, Foster, Adopt. The Farm Dog Rescue is a no-kill dog rescue supporting animal welfare in Martin County, Florida. I think it's one of our first or second ones we've done in Florida, which I just love. I love that we go across the country and internationally. They rescue and adopt dogs, educate people, which I think is key, and help animals in need within their community. The Farm Dog Rescue has made it a priority to provide spay and neuter to reduce pet overpopulation in Martin County. So they not only save existing dogs, but are managing future populations so that wanted dogs are wanted. Keri Burgess, founder of the Farm Dog Rescue, is clearly passionate about dogs, a true dog whisperer, and has been a dedicated animal advocate and rescuer for over 20 years. As the founder and president of the Farm Dog Rescue, she has devoted her life to saving and rehabilitating dogs in need. Her journey in rescue began as a foster, and over the years, she has volunteered for numerous shelters and organizations, gaining invaluable experience in animal welfare. With a deep passion for fostering, Keri has personally opened her home to over 100 dogs. I think that's just amazing, giving them the care, training, and love they need before finding their forever families. Under her leadership, the Farm Dog Rescue has become a respected force in rescue, focusing on responsible adoption, rehabilitation, and community education. In addition to her work and rescue, Keri actually has a full-time job. She's a realtor and the owner of a real estate coaching company where she helps professionals grow and succeed in their businesses. Her business acumen lends itself to both running a rescue as a business and also selling real estate, balancing compassion with strategy to ensure success in both fields. I feel so fortunate today to have two guests, Keri Burgess and one of her volunteer foster moms. She may not be a dog whisperer, but she is known as the LinkedIn whisperer. Dr. Nancy Zare is the creator of the Likability sales system. Renowned for her focus on buyers, she shows professional business owners how to generate warm, organic leads on LinkedIn and turn them into clients. She has authored 7 books, including an Amazon International bestseller. And just on a personal note, I have known Nancy for, I don't even know, 40 years maybe? I was a graduate student and she was my lead, my supervisor on a great project. And she has been just a mentor throughout my life. And I'm truly grateful that she introduced me to Keri. So, ladies, let's get started. Welcome, Keri and Nancy. I think, Keri, you're the founder. I would love to start with you. I'd love to hear your story. 100 dogs is a lot of dogs, and I'm sure there are probably more than that. And I'd love to know what continues to fuel your passion for the farm dog rescue, because it's a huge undertaking. So welcome.
Thanks. Thanks for having me on today. So the rescue was started a few years ago. And at that time, there were very few no-kill dog rescues available in our entire area. So it was a needed rescue at that time. And we have grown a lot as a society and within our rescue. I think as with all businesses, as with all industries, things change over time. And so we are seeing a lot of small rescues pop up, which is good. We have more awareness and more, people with a heart who want to get involved and help. Really, our focus is going to be changing and focusing more on pet overpopulation issues, which is the broader, you asked in the beginning, what is the overall purpose, the bigger picture? And the bigger picture is solving the problem and doing the small rescue one at a time is helping the one, but it's not solving the grand problem. And the grand problem is we have too many dogs in the South. They don't have these issues in the North, primarily because of legislation, spay and neuter, et cetera, et cetera. And so our focus will be shifting more toward that in the near future. But day to day, we rely on people like Nancy and all of our foster families that take in the dogs. We don't have a shelter. So it allows us to place the dog in a home environment, truly get to know them well and place them properly. So we are a small rescue. For us, it is not being the biggest. That's never our goal. We want to have a quality program where dogs can be rehabilitated and put out properly. That is our focus. So it's not so much about the numbers. In the beginning, you asked about the business side of things. So whether it's a nonprofit or a for-profit, it is still a business. And I think that so many 501c3s come in with a big heart and they forget that it takes financial stability to run any business, including a 501c3.
Absolutely.
So from that standpoint, we run like a real business, even though all 52 volunteers have a job, like Nancy. So we all work and we volunteer our time.
I love that. Before we jump to Nancy and sort of hear what it's like being a foster mom, I would love to know, what is your process? Because you don't have a bricks and mortar. So how do you hear about dogs? And then the other comment I sort of have is I wonder if it isn't that way in the North. Also, as you pointed out, policy, but also maybe because of the weather. I don't know, because dogs can live more easily outside in the South. I don't know that that's actually accurate, or maybe in California or anywhere in the South and Southwest too. But it's disturbing because there aren't any legal parameters on breeding or any of this. And so it just can be such a problem. So I love that you said that.
It comes down to policy. It really does. Until we require spay and neutering, we set some limitations and so on. Things will not change. And I've already been here 20 years. I don't want to be here in 10 more years. Solving the same problem every day.
I hear you.
And where do our dogs come from? Which is the number one question we get. 95% of our dogs come from owner surrenders. It's not our intention, but it is what happened. So people in the public need to give up their dog. They want it to go to a no-kill rescue. So they call us first. We don't even have an opportunity to pull kill dogs out of shelters because we're inundated with owner surrender calls.
Wow.
To the tune of 10 to 15 calls a day.
Oh, wow.
They find us. We don't need to find them. So we usually have between 20 and 25 dogs on our waiting list of dogs we would even consider taking in.
Wow.
Not to mention those that we can't take in. We do not take in dogs from outside of Florida, for example. So these are just local dogs with people in need.
Wow. And I'm sure the need to surrender the dog comes in a variety of packages. Either someone has lost their home or they're moving, or that it wasn't a family dog and they thought it would be a family dog. I mean, there could be a zillion different.
Yeah.
So how do you screen for dogs when you get those calls?
So our process is when they call in or when they go to our website, they're directed to fill out an owner surrender form, which gives us all the information to see if it's a dog that can fit into our program. Once we have that form, we reach out and have a conversation with them. And then based on the urgency and the ability for us to take in the dog, we would do so over usually 3 or 4 days. And then we set up an intake on the dog. If it is a large dog, we have a process of testing the dog to make sure, we are aware of any behavioral issues. And then the intake of the dog medically, behaviorally, and then it goes to a foster home. So it is a process. It's not an instant. We don't do same day take-ins. I mean, there's a lot of things to it. Because we're a no-kill, we have to be careful. Because of our insurance, we can't take dogs with an existing bite record. We're also placing them with our dedicated foster parent. And so we have to know that that dog is safe to put in that environment. So there's something to it. Dogs primarily come in as owner surrender because the family can either no longer take care of them financially, or they can no longer handle them behaviorally, or they're being displaced. Many, many of our dogs come in from either seniors or people that have passed away. The dog goes to the family member. The parent did not create a pet trust, which is something we try to educate people on. So if you're any age, but especially a senior, you can have a pet trust set up and dedicate your dog to a certain rescue. And that dog comes in with a pet trust. And so it's all organized in advance. Typically, older people say, oh, my daughter's going to take Fluffy. And Fluffy is marched into the local shelter when mom passes away. And it is just what happened.
Wow. I had never thought about that as sort of planning, because I have 2 and they're older. Hopefully I won't have that issue. But it's something I don't know that most people think about.
Right. What happened to your children if there was an emergency and you couldn't take care of them? We set those things up, but we don't think about our pets.
Right.
And we assume that our children are going to handle them. And it should not be an assumption. It should be a conversation and part of a pet trust. So we do work from a place of pet trust. And then there's a lot of seniors who get dogs through a breeder, through a shelter that does not vet people, et cetera, that are really inappropriate for them. So, today we took in a dog this morning, a small Yorkie, adopted out to an 80-some-year-old woman who doesn't drive, a Yorkie puppy. Actually, it was a breeder, so it was a purchased dog. And the dog jumped off the bed and broke its foot. And she doesn't have the means to vet the dog, doesn't have the ability to take the dog to and from vet appointments. On and on and on. And it was inappropriate. Now, if that person would have come to us, we have a helping seniors program.
Love it.
I would have happily given her an 11-year-old Yorkie. All would be well.
Well, share for a moment the difference between that, because that's a really important point. So you have a seniors program. So for older people who do want to adopt, you have certain breeds or certain requirements around what that would look like. Will you share a little bit about that? I think that's super interesting.
Absolutely. So we get in senior dogs, of course.
Right.
We take in all dogs. And then we have senior people in the community that have been turned away by many rescues because they're 80 years old. And so they contact us and we say, we will happily sign you up for our Seniors Helping Seniors program. So we pair a senior, an 80-year-old woman, for example, with a nice little senior dog, 11, 12 years old. And they just want a dog to sit on their lap usually. They're not into going out and jogging 3 miles.
Right.
And that little dog just needs a lap.
And a little love, right? Yeah.
And a little love.
Yeah, I love that. Brilliant.
I'm smiling because I have participated in many such adoptions. I've had a few of the senior dogs who have, I know, gone to senior people, and yes, they were lap warmers.
I love that. And I'm going to go to you, Nancy, in 1 second, because Nancy is a volunteer foster mom. And so I want to hear from her perspective what the experience is, because she's not a permanent adoptive home, but she's that intermediary. And you have how many currently, you mentioned before, but I think I didn't capture that. How many current foster volunteer homes do you have?
Not enough.
Or does that vary? Yeah, that's a good point, Nancy. Not enough.
So we have 52 volunteers, but those volunteers do all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Some are admin, some are transport, so all different walks of life.
Yeah.
The dedicated foster homes, ebb and flow. We do have some seasonal residents, so it's not a continual. We also have people who will take a break. I always say it's like substitute teaching. You can foster, and then if you just need a break, you can take a break.
Right.
So right now, we probably have 15 to 20, but they're not always all available. And then you have to look at the dog and what is appropriate for the foster. So I have to take in a dog that matches the home of the foster.
Of course.
So, for example, the dog that Nancy has right now is a beautiful 9-year-old golden retriever, but he does need to be the only dog in the home. Nancy is literally the only foster available right now in our system that has no other pet. So he had to go to Nancy. So I had another dog for her, and I said, Nancy, sorry, not bringing this one. I'm going to bring this one.
But it's such
said,
a,
I don't care.
I went from thinking I was going to get this Chihuahua that weighed less than 10 pounds to what, the 80-pound dog. It's like, woo!
I saw your video on, I think it was LinkedIn, and I just thought it was great. It was such a great thing. This is just so fascinating because I don't think people realize the level of detail and care that goes into your thinking when you place a dog, and how carefully you need to do that, whether the dog has to not be with other dogs, whether there can't be other pets, whether there can't be children, you know, the age, just what you talked about. You have a seniors program. I love the thoughtfulness in your approach to this entire rescue. And it speaks to not only your years of experience, but also to your business strategy. You want it to be successful. And the way to be successful is to have happy foster families, happy adoptive families, and happy dogs. So I think it's such a tribute to you and what you've created. And yet I'm sure there's regular frustration, because if you're getting 10 to 15 calls a day and you only have a certain number of homes, you can't always take them in. So I greatly admire what you're able to do. You offer training as a component, or maybe problem solving or behavioral help with a dog that you have placed in the foster home. And I'd love to hear how you think about that. So I'd love for you to talk about what that offering looks like.
I think the biggest catch is this is a living, breathing thing. You know, it's not a shirt. It's not one size fits all. And when we talk about any dog, they all come with their own personality, just like people. And so it depends on the dog and the situation. We have a dedicated trainer that we pay. She's not part of our organization, but she works with us and we'll take a dog in. It could be to do an assessment. It could be for a short-term period, just to make sure there's nothing, as we call it, under the hood.
Right.
Just so we know what we're getting.
Yep.
If there's a dog that has behavioral problems, she'll work with that too. Helps us to place them properly. And then she offers like discount rate once the dog is adopted if they want to do continuing training. But most of our fosters, like Nancy, they have some basic skills that can help work with the dog. And most dogs that come in, they just need basics. These aren't ferocious bite dogs. These are dogs that need potty training, need to walk properly on a leash. They need basic restrictions and boundaries. And so that's where the foster family can come in. And like we try to put dogs out crate trained, you know, things like that fosters can help with.
I love that. So Nancy, I want to hear your experience of working with the Farm Dog Rescue, and then maybe a few stories that you probably have because you fostered quite a few dogs.
I am so proud to be affiliated with the Farm Dog Rescue. I moved to Florida about 3 years ago, and I knew I wanted to volunteer, and I actually went to a different organization, and it didn't feel right, what they were doing and what they were offering me. And just coincidentally, and by the way, coincidental is just a multi-syllable word for God. Coincidentally, as I'm driving away from that, I see a sign, something about adopt a dog. And it turns out the Farm Dog Rescue was at a particular location. They often do that where they bring some of the dogs and we volunteers go there and promote the organization. Mm-hmm. And I went there, I met Keri, and lo and behold, there was an application to fill out. I got vetted. I had to put in references as to people who could testify that I wasn't a dog molester and all that kind of thing. Yeah. So, and that's what I appreciate about the organization. Not only am I vetted in terms of that I have a safe home to offer the animal, mm-hmm. but the families that are going to adopt the dog, we also do a similar vetting process. Mm-hmm. And we make home visits and we make sure that the fence goes all the way around the yard and there aren't holes for the dog to run away. Mm-hmm. And by the way, almost all the dogs get chipped in our care. Right. So that we are responsible for those dogs. These are all the things that make me appreciate that I coincidentally got linked up with the Farm Dog Rescue.
I love that. It's a great story. And yes, I do believe coincidental is another word for God. I think that's beautiful. I'm going to use that, Nancy. Thank you very much. It's perfect. How many dogs have you had, if you can even count them, through your affiliation with the Farm Dog Rescue?
Scout here, who is the Golden Retriever, is now number 38.
It's amazing. And that's in only
so
a few years.
I'm sneaking up on you, Keri.
Right. That's just amazing.
Yeah, I've stopped fostering.
What is, and either one of you can answer this, but what is the average length of stay for a foster mom? Or you're Nancy, you're putting your hands up in the air. It so varies because you're really waiting for that ideal home, right? Let me ask Keri this maybe. What's the shortest time, if you can remember, that a dog stayed, and what's the longest time a dog stayed?
Our average hold time is 12 days. Our shortest time was 1 hour. The longest time is probably a year. And so we are not the rescue that holds dogs forever. This is not a sanctuary. Right. Our true mission is to get them adopted properly.
Right.
But I have a lot of people that, as you can imagine, say, oh, I want this, or I'm looking for this.
Right, of course.
Yeah. So I have a lot of people already looking. So when I take in a dog, I sometimes already have someone waiting. Mm-hmm. So some dogs go out within an hour.
That's amazing. Well, you have a network, which you've created over your years. And so you've been in this kind of rescue and no-kill kind of environment for a long time where people know to go to you at this point, which I think is really amazing. So I have a question. After that dog was there for a year, because I know me, if I have a dog for a year, I'd want to keep the dog. I mean, it's really, because you get attached. After Molly came to us, and believe me, not vetted in any possibility, not trained, not whatever, a house full, and did not accept training. We've tried a lot of different things, although maybe it wasn't consistent. I have to sort of blame our family for that. And at the same time, even after the frustration of the first 2 weeks, a month, whatever, I could never have thought to give her up. And I still, after 10 years, it's almost 11 years.
Right.
So was it hard for that foster home to give that dog up after a year?
No. And I'm saying a year. It was probably shorter than that, but definitely a few months.
Yeah.
What happens when we get into a long hold situation is there's usually something to it. So the dog comes into foster, it goes into a trainer, it might go into a different foster. So no, there was movement. And that I hate. I don't want to get choked up, but I look at poor Scout. Scout is a 9-year-old purebred golden retriever.
Gorgeous.
Right. So he was bought from a breeder by a couple who did not make plans for him. So one passed, and then I think the other one passed away. Scout ended up in a kill shelter in Palm Beach. In 2020, he was adopted from that kill shelter, who they don't vet people, and, whoever wants to adopt the dog can adopt it. So he was adopted out to someone in another town, and they had him until 2025, and they had 3 dogs, And the story, which I don't have firsthand, but the story was that they were going to move and not take 1 or 3 dogs, and he was probably going to be left behind or taken to a kill shelter.
Wow.
And so a nice couple took him in and cared for him for 19 days and realized that he doesn't get along with their small dog. So now he's in rescue. So this dog, who's a beautiful, fabulous golden retriever,
Gorgeous.
has had 1, 2, 3 homes. Now he's in a foster home. And now I'll put him out for the rest of his life. 5 homes. And that is our fault as a society. That's the sad part of rescue. Like, I'm glad he made it to a rescue and I will do right by him. But it is really sad.
It is
and then
sad.
the dogs that don't get to a rescue, that go to who knows where. And that's, again, where we need policy to help the pet overpopulation. That is the problem.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's heartbreaking because this dog, of no fault of its own, is put in a situation because somebody thinks they want him, or there's, whatever, a myriad of reasons. And it's really painful. And the other piece, I imagine, is behavioral issues come from those multiple transitions. Or in my case with Molly, her definitely having lived on the street, probably had a set of puppies. You get near her, she has this high-pitched squeal. I remember the very first time, we all were like, oh my God, who stabbed her? Like, what happened? And now when people come over and she does this, we're all like, Molly, you're fine. Molly, you're fine. That's our lingo for her. And then she's fine because she knows she's safe. But it's 11 years later practically. And so I still could do probably better training. However, I think we've given her a good life, but that high-pitched squeal still exists. And the other thing that I noticed is my other dog I had since puppyhood eats regularly, slowly, and Molly eats in 30 seconds and then looks at his bowl because she thinks that is her last meal every time she eats. And this has gone on for the last 10 and a half years. When we go outside for a walk, I have to watch her like a hawk. Because if there is anything on the ground that she thinks she can eat, she will get it before I can even pull the leash. And I'm pretty tight with that leash. So I see these behaviors and it breaks my heart, to be honest. And then I can still get really annoyed with her when she looks at me, goes to the rug instead of her pee pad and pees. And I look at her and go, you're kidding me, right? But I respect the fact that she has had an early life of trauma. And the only thing that I can really give her is as many cuddles as I can. And she knows when she's done something wrong. She's that smart. But I think she, again, lives with the survival/fear deep embedded in her soul.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know that there's a lot I can do about that. It is heartache when you talk about this. And then there's the flip side, like this German Shepherd that was rescued and these 2 gorgeous German Shepherds. They could be ugly, it doesn't matter, but well-fed and happy and frolicking and safe. And thank goodness the rescue one is a puppy. Like maybe they think 8 or 9 months. So we'll be able to overcome that early life, whereas Molly was sort of embedded in this life for a couple of years. Nancy, go. I want to hear some stories. Yeah, share.
I want to share because it turned out the very first dog, and it's actually dogs plural, that I fostered through the farm dog rescue. There was a pair, and I'm sure you remember them, Keri. They came from a deprived situation. I think they were left outside. They were finding things on the ground to eat. Why could we tell? Because their fecal matter showed what it was that they were trying to survive on. Yeah. Neither were potty trained, but they were bonded together. And so I took them both. And it was a joy to actually help them become potty trained, to help them walk outside on a leash, to be able to see other dogs. And initially they would run and be behind me, trying to pull away. They were so frightened of anything. Normally, and this is another thing about the way we operate, normally I don't meet the adoptive family that takes on the animal. But in this case, they happened to be snowbirds from Massachusetts, which is where I had lived most of my adult life. And so we didn't know each other, but we immediately had this bond because we were in both in Massachusetts. So we kept in touch. Wow. And they showed me how the dog, because they were both young dogs, I think under a year old. So they showed me the dog a year later, and when they returned back to Florida, and I actually got to visit, and it was a beautiful dog and so happy and et cetera. So what I have gained from doing this is amazing because I love dogs, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't have volunteered to be a foster parent. However, I'm not a dog trainer, and I don't know all the tricks for how to do this, that, or the next thing. But my colleagues here, my fellow volunteers, Keri, have showed me so many things that give me more confidence in how I care for animals. And actually, I think that confidence then comes into other parts of my life. So I'm very grateful.
I love that story on so many levels because one, it really shows an outcome of really working with a dog, especially a younger dog, and what a good foster home can do and provide. And for you to be able to see that journey and then the fruition of it is even better a year later. But even without that, what you were able to do allowed these dogs to find an ability to feel safe again. And then I also love your comment about how does that enter into other parts of your life? I do think it builds confidence for those of us who feel successful. Like I have a pad by the door. Molly never used to go by the door. Now she goes by the door. Occasionally she'll bark when she has to go outside. So there is progress even after 10 and a half years and my own life transitions, right? So she's been on that path with me. And I also think, and this is just my guess, Nancy, and you both can chime in because you're both business women working with people all the time, one in real estate and one in sales. And I have to think that behavior in terms of how we think about animals definitely translates into engagement with people because most of us want the same things. We want to feel safe. We want to feel well fed. We want to feel sheltered. We want to be able to sustain ourselves. So in some ways, and I'm not mocking this, I think there's real value in being able to understand behavior, regardless of whether it's human, animal. And as I said in my opening, sometimes I don't know who rescues whom. And I think that's true in our business world too. We all want to have purpose. We all want to have relevance. And dogs do too. Their purpose is just something different. And that's really to be a good pet in whatever way they have been trained or know how to do. So I just love that. So I'm going to go back to stories a little bit because they're so beautiful. Keri, any aha moments that surprised you? Anything that you hadn't expected? She's like, a million. Which one would you like? Yeah. What a question. How long do you have? How long is this podcast?
There's so many. Not to be crass, but I think the biggest aha moment is you cannot kill your way out of pet overpopulation.
Yeah.
The kill shelters that are functioning, like this solution will never change if we don't make policy change.
Right, because you're doing the Band-Aid instead of the inception, right?
100%. That's the number one aha moment that was a few years ago. And then from a day-to-day, I think the aha moment, and Nancy has demonstrated that, it's all about the end and not the beginning. And so when we talk in rescue, I try not to focus on where they came from and how bad it was. Instead, we really try to focus on their current life and how wonderful it is.
Oh, I love that.
And I think every dog that we have adopted out, we can testify that they have an amazing life. And that's really what we focus on. I mean, I can tell you horror story after horror story, but it doesn't really matter. And when we say, and I'll talk out of both sides of my mouth, dogs live in the moment. Like your dog is very happy when she jumps in bed with you. She lives in the moment. Yes, she had some baggage, which is now part of her personality. And by the way, that's just like human.
True. Right? I was just going to say that.
Exactly. I mean, all of our bad experiences create who we are and how we got there. And so dogs are no different.
Yeah.
So really, the aha moment is that we try to focus on the end and not the beginning.
Oh,
and
I love it.
It's a great way to walk through this and not get so down about, the current situation of rescue.
I love that so much.
Yeah, I definitely have experienced that as part of the group of volunteers, that it is about positive outcomes and not about whatever the wretched beginning was, etc. People keep asking me how I can foster. And again, you had said, don't you fall in love with the dogs? Well, I do love dogs, but I walk in with knowing that I'm doing a blessing for the family that surrendered the dog, right? There was some circumstance that made them let it go. And second, the animal itself is going to get the love and care and attention it needs through myself and through the resources of the Farm Dog Rescue. And by the way, they pay about $10,000 a month in medical bills for these animals. So it's substantial. And then third, I know that I'm giving a beautiful pet who will have a forever home. So I feel blessed to be able to be a part of that.
Yeah, I love that. And I think what you both shared in some ways should be really a metaphor for thinking humans, frankly, because we often live with so much regret or what we should have done or what happened in the past. And I think I'm going to turn my brain into a dog's brain and be like, I'm living in the moment. Because I do think that it gives you context when you're trying to understand behavior. And at the same time, I'm here now with Molly and Max. It's the moment now. And so I love that because it puts into perspective what I have, with the kind of home I have been able to give her, and that she does feel safe. And so we need to do that for ourselves. I think it's a great, great metaphor. So Nancy, I love that synopsis of sort of that 3-stage kind of thinking, or the 3 parts that you get to feel really like you're a contributor, which you are. And I'd love to hear from you any aha moments or surprises that you didn't expect, either in a good way or a way that you thought, ooh, I got to rethink this, any of that.
I have benefited from learning certain tricks about working with dogs, and that I have appreciated, because many times people surrender a dog because they haven't invested the time to take care of the animal properly. And so they think the dog is untrained. Mm-hmm. Well, the point is, we humans were the ones that were untrained.
Yeah, true.
And so learning to be consistent, learning very small things. I'm very grateful that one of our volunteers has given me a lot of information about various ways to care for a dog, or if the dog is feeling frightened by other dogs walking, because I live in an area where there are plenty of other dogs, how I can work with that animal in order to help them feel secure and safe. So it's that sort of thing that it's like, wow, these bad behaviors don't have to continue, that there are things that we can do. And if we're consistent and loving in doing them, it works.
It is. It's a great opportunity to learn something for yourself in the context of doing for others. And that's really what you're both talking about. And I just love it. So you may or may not know, but toward the end of the podcast, I have a list of quick and gutsy questions. And you both get an answer, and you can pass if you don't have an answer. But are you ready for your quick and gutsies?
Sure.
They're fun. Oh, no. What are they?
Bring it on.
Bring it on. And there's no wrong answer, okay? So what is at the top of your wish list for the farm dog rescue? However, the answer can't be money or funding, because that's usually would be the top answer for most. So I always like to challenge a little bit. So what's at the top of your wish list for the farm dog rescue, but the answer can't be money or funding?
Education.
Oh, I love that. What a perfect answer.
Yeah, it's the policy change.
Policy change and education.
It's policy change.
I love it. And education can mean lots of different things. Education for the dog owner, education for a future dog owner, education for what policy it should be implemented, and then the policy itself. Brilliant. You two are brilliant. If you were to think of a song that describes the farm dog rescue, what would it be?
You want Mahler's symphony or something like that?
Something calming that the dog would appreciate and like.
How about It's All About Today?
Yeah, it's all about today. I love that.
I did it my way.
Oh, I love
There you
it.
go.
Oh, Nancy, I love it.
There
I
you
did
go.
it my way. That's great. Oh, I love that. Perfect. Tell me, what do you both think makes the farm dog rescue gutsy? Because the farm dog rescue is gutsy. It's a gutsy program.
Volunteers.
Beautiful answer.
It's persistence and consistency.
Yeah, it's great. You just keep walking that walk and you're not giving up. And I think the other thing I would say, just hearing you and talking with you, is you take in dogs that you know you can help. And you're very thoughtful about your process in every area of your program, which I think is not always the case. And I need to applaud you for that, because it makes a huge difference. And so what makes you gutsy is that you really have not just a thoughtful process, but you aren't going to give up on the dogs you choose. And I love that. I just love that, because dogs can be frustrating. Or as Nancy said, it's the owners who are really frustrating. I'll put myself in that category. Really cute. What is something that outsiders, or maybe even a few insiders, don't know about the farm dog rescue?
What pops into my mind is the fact that we do a very careful vetting and placement of the animals. Again, because if you go to the Humane Society, wherever, you literally could walk home with a dog in an hour. Well, I'll take that one. And there is no amount of thought going into whether I have a proper home, whether that breed is one that I can care for. None of that, whether I have other animals. So it's the thoughtfulness in our placement of animals that I think really distinguishes us and most people wouldn't be aware of.
Yeah, that's great. Keri, what about you? What do you think?
I think it's the system. I mean, so from the top-down business, there's so many things involved that no one, even our volunteers, know all the different people and things that are involved in the nonprofit in so many areas.
Yeah, there are requirements, restrictions, but there's also so many different moving parts that have to all be in place. And you're dealing with a live entity. You're dealing with animals and people. So there's always a piece of that I think is so key.
Keri is an outstanding businesswoman. And again, I don't know all the ins and outs of the organization, but the fact that it's persisted all these years and is doing well and each year does better, it really is a testimony to her leadership.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I'm sure that's absolutely true. And I think your business acumen speaks to that as well, because you do treat it like a business. You have to.
She's very modest and doesn't usually take... It's true. I mean, even being on a podcast, we had to twist her arm because even though she's the head of the organization, she likes to be in the background.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a sign of an amazing leader, actually, too, in a lot of ways,
is.
Right? Because you really give the credit to all the others and you're busy doing the work itself.
I mention this because, Laura, you and I both are in organizational development and leadership and so forth. So we know that it takes an extraordinary person to make this work.
For sure, 100%.
I'll respond to that because I want you to understand the thought behind it. So, Laura, you had asked on our website, there's no profile or bio on me, and why is that? And so this is a 501c3. It is board of directors. I do not own it. This needs to live on beyond me. So it can be my legacy, but it cannot be mine. And it needs to be run by volunteers, not me. And so I've been with a lot of rescues. I've been involved with many shelters. And when you make it too much about one person, you lose track and lose sight of the real goal, which is the dog. So I try to keep the dog as the center of attention.
Yeah.
This is not about me. I don't own the rescue. And I am not the one who handles everything. We had 52 volunteers who handled lots of moving parts. So I can't take all the credit.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Well, I deeply appreciate that because that also shows us a way of leadership that I think is quite stellar. And let's do a shout out to all 52 volunteers and wishing for more volunteers because you can always use more, I think, as long as they're consistent and show up, and it sounds like they do. And the other thing is that I had asked you that question before we started the podcast about I hadn't seen your bio, which I love your explanation. And of course, I have to, for 2 seconds, put on my consulting hat. I would love to see, if people are interested, if you don't want to put your bio or your board of directors, because you could do that as well, because I agree it's a legacy organization. It's about the organization. It would be interesting to list out your 52 volunteers, including yourself.
That's a good idea. That is a good idea.
I can't help it. I can't help my consulting hat.
I like it.
And the reason why is because it honors what you just shared with me, which is it's a team effort. You are leading the team. You're that head of the rower or the coxswain or however you're guiding, but you got to have all those rowers in the boat with you. And so I so deeply appreciate your sentiment and your belief in your philosophy, your leadership philosophy. So put it into action in one more way. And so, yeah,
I
that's
like
just
that.
my little
I like
2
that.
cents there. Yeah, great.
I like it. Make them know.
Yeah, see, it's not just a podcast. It's like a little consulting moment.
Very
It's
good.
fun. That's part of this conversation, right? So last, quick and gutsy. If you could get one celebrity or influencer to endorse or talk about the farm dog rescue, who might that be? And sad to say, I have to say Betty White would have been perfect, unfortunately, but she lived a long, long time and she was a personal hero of mine. I loved her.
Yeah.
So outside of Betty White, who might that be?
I feel like a lot of celebrities have already started their own 501c3, and the ones that are animal advocates have already started their own foundation. like Miranda Lambert and Betty White even. Many of them already started there. So it's hard to say who would we want to endorse. I don't know. I would have to give that more thought.
You know, you raise a good point, though, because anyone else who has their own rescue, certainly they'll endorse theirs. But as you pointed out, there are so many dogs in need, and that it's a policy issue that is one of your wishes. Here's another consulting thought I have, is reach out to those other foundations and see if they would join you in a push for policy change.
Yeah, we're in process.
You know, wouldn't that be so great to do that as a collaboration?
Yeah, this is not my solo idea. Many people.
Right.
Yeah.
So they could also then endorse or share in a partnership moment.
Right.
And there you can then, share logos. Because some, foundations aren't going to reach as far as Florida. They'll be somewhere else. And so you're doing it specifically in your area. And so to direct people there is also really terrific. And hopefully this will get to folks who want to volunteer. Nancy, what about you? Any thoughts about an influencer or a celebrity that comes to mind?
Yeah, the first thought that came to mind was the governor of Florida, followed by the president of the United States.
I love it. Yes, they should get on board.
I'm saying that not because I think these people are necessarily animal rights advocates, because they ought to be. Not that they are.
Oh, I love that. Nancy, how brilliant is that? Because the animal rights advocacy aspect is to change the policy so that it starts from inception. And that's what people don't really understand. And you've educated me in that realm. No kill shouldn't have to be an option.
Exactly.
It should be no birth.
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, right?
Yeah.
So I love that reframe. It's so perfect. And not having been in the business that both of you are in as volunteers, except for having my own rescue, I have learned many things new on this podcast, but that is one that I will hold as a true value for me because it makes so much sense. And I don't know why people aren't kind of gravitating to that almost instantaneously. And it's funny, Nancy, you mentioned before about going to a shelter and just picking, I'll take that dog. And sadly, I was a novice when we decided to get a second dog, which I wasn't so crazy about the idea anyway, but that's another story. We went to a rescue, but it was a rescue where literally it was chaos. And I hadn't had the experience of knowing. So they said certain things about Molly that in fact were not true. They said positive, wonderful things that ended up being not actually the result of what the reality was. And yet I absolutely love her so much. And because I can't help it. And I can still get upset with her, just like my children. I can love them and not always like their behavior.
Exactly.
And even as adults, I can say that. So, Keri, any other thoughts, or Nancy, that you'd like to share?
The only last thought I would have, and you just hit on it, is I believe that rescues need to all band together and support each other. I feel like the industry is shifting to where it's a competition for every donation dollar, and it really is to serve the animals. And that is the true function of all rescues. So we should be banding together to change policy and make a true change for our future generation.
I love that. And I'm going to try to hashtag that and add that as sort of a line somewhere, somehow. You may have more information on that offline that I can get from you. Nancy, any last comments or thoughts?
Open your heart and open your wallet.
Yeah, we have to say that, of course. So how do people reach you, Keri? How do people get in touch with the Farm Dog Rescue?
If you go to our website, which is thefarmdogrescue.com, you can learn all about us. Our main number is 772-223-2242. You can call us, text us, Facebook followers. We have a huge social media following. So check us out on Facebook. All of our dogs are there. All of our happy forever stories are there. So all different ways.
Yeah, I loved your website.
And just remember to put the Farm Dog Rescue.
The Farm Dog.
Right, that's great. And I loved the stories. I watched some of the videos and the rescue part. I thought it was a great website, actually. So I will put that in the show notes as well so that people will have access. So I just want to take a moment and thank you both. This was such a delight to interview you, learn so much about the Farm Dog Rescue. Nancy, to see you in a different context outside of your LinkedIn whisper and the likability. And Keri, I have no doubt you're an ideal realtor, because if you take this much care in your volunteer world, I can only imagine how you take care of your clients.
Thank you.
A shout out to both of you. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Please go to smallandgutsy.org to check out all of our episodes. And if you're so inclined, please purchase some Small and Gutsy merchandise, consider sponsoring an episode, or making a donation. Both are tax deductible and help keep us going and spotlighting these great organizations. The opinions and viewpoints expressed by our guests are independent and don't reflect the position or views of Small and Gutsy. Of course, we can't take responsibility outside of our own vetting of the organizations we interview, so before you sign on to support or work for them, we encourage you to do your own due diligence and research them as well. I want to thank my partners in this endeavor, the Intrinsic Group, the donors, the sponsors, and my incredible board of directors, Brianna Carmichael, John Gatto, Lucy Mello, Ari McCoy, Melissa Greitz, and Serena Rajabian, who believed in me in this project enough so to sign on to support this effort, and all the folks, friends, and family who have guided and inspired me. And thank you for listening. Together, we are spreading social impact, and you can help us. If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends. And don't forget to email me the name of any organization you feel would benefit from being interviewed. From small and gutsy to big with impact. I'm Dr. Laura Scherck Wittcoff, and thanks for listening.